Okay, now that we are in the month of October, before you know it, the holidays are going to be here. That time of year tends to just fly by. So our next guest, Kevin Fuerst, thought this is the best time to catch you and talk about getting those end-of-year charitable gifts in, end-of-year donations. And he's got a way to help you give, but save some money for yourself kind of at the same time. Is that a fair way to put it?
It's fair.
Kevin, of course, has the Fuerst Financial Group, and their website is Grow, Keep, Leave. So I have it right?
Yep.
So we're talking about all three of those things
absolutely.
this morning.
Yeah.
So this is called a QCD, which stands for
Qualified Charitable Deduction or Donation. And it is a way for people that give donations or are typically giving. It's a way for them to give and not affect their tax return. And what I mean by that is typically we take from our income, we pay taxes on the income that comes in, and then we turn around and we give to a charity. Well, in this case, the way the QCD works, you can give that distribution from your IRA directly to the charity, and it doesn't come to you first. That way you don't pay taxes on it. It lowers your taxes, and it still blesses the charity or organization as long as it's a 501(c). It is a great way to avoid taxes.
So we had this conversation a few months ago, so let's see if I get an A on the test.
Okay.
So let's say that your required minimum distribution is $20,000. Let's just go with that.
All right.
And in the past, you've taken your $20,000, you've paid your tax on that money, and then you give and do the things with the money that you choose to do.
Correct.
Okay. In this case, with the QCD, you will take that, before you withdraw that $20,000, you're going to take, let's just say, $5,000 of it to give.
Correct.
Now you're going to have $15,000 that you're taking, and that's what you're taxed on.
Correct. Correct. If you, yeah, that's right. That's right. Exactly right.
Okay. So,
so you save, the only loser is the Fed.
Correct.
That's what you have to remember in that in the scenario is the Fed loses, you win, and if you have IRAs, you're over 59 and a half, all you have to do is make sure that your advisor makes that check go directly to the charity.
So does the charity have to receive, let's say that $5,000 that you're going to give, let's say it's going to go tithe money to your church.
Correct.
Does that go in one lump sum, or can that be given monthly?
Any way they want it, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, all at one time, whatever they want to do. Sometimes people wait till the end of the year to give or do special gifts. It can still, it doesn't have to necessarily be a part of your RMD. It could be above the RMD as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
So there's really no reason why not to go through that instead. So I have some people that give money through their, not through the RMD, but above the RMD that goes to a charity, but it comes directly out of the IRA and goes to that charity. That way it doesn't come to the individual. The individual's not taxed on it, or it's not part of their taxable income.
Right.
And the loser's the federal government.
So your reason for wanting to bring that up now is, one, to remind people that that's a great way to do it. The other is that everyone is going to get busy, including you, because your phone's going to be ringing. So if you need to kind of have that end of year well check visit with your financial person, this is the time to do it.
This is the time to do it. Especially now, when we talked earlier, November 1st, it's like, I don't have time. You know, Thanksgiving's coming, they got to get ready for that. The next thing you know, Christmas is coming. So there's very few days in November, December that you have for looking at where you are financially, what are we going to do next year, do we have our risk right, and then make some changes and move forward.
Okay, let's talk about that risk, because you educated me on something. I was not totally surprised with the answer, but I was surprised with the scale of the answer. We were talking, with this being an election year, you hear just talk around the coffee pot of people being afraid one way or the other with what's going to happen with their money.
Right.
And you were saying that there's like a 100-year study that shows no matter who wins a presidential election, either party, what happens?
So nothing. So really there's the difference in portfolios during Republican-led periods or Democrat-led periods. The difference is like 1/100%. It's such a small difference. So if somebody's worried that, oh, the Republicans are going to get in, it's going to be horrible, we're going to heck in a handbag, it's not true. Or the Democrats get in, we're going to heck in a handbag, it's not true. over the 100 and 120-year study said the difference between the two parties has been about 1/100%, which means nothing.
And just
really.
to clarify, in case anybody is screaming at the television right now,
of course.
what you're talking about is investments.
That's right.
Not
investments.
your monthly budget
That's
expenditures,
correct.
but
That's
investments.
Right. That's right. Your
So
investments.
that comes back to that risk, because you want to make sure when you're talking with somebody that you're really having that risk assessment.
Correct.
To know you're handling your money
That's
in the right way.
And that's why you do the review. That's why you look at everything. How risk averse are you or aren't you? And so you have to make those decisions. But it can be done, and it's just part of what we do all the time. This is just a 4-year cycle where we're going through, and you hear both sides worried about it. If they get in, our money's going to do this or do that.
Right.
It's not happened historically.
If-
Not that it couldn't.
Yeah.
But theoretically, that's what's happened for the last 100 years.
If you are somebody, kind of break it down by age, if you're in your 40s or 50s and you're taking, hopefully, a little bit more risk with your investments, you might see some topsy-turviness with the market, but that's okay. You've got time to grow it.
Yeah.
But you want to have that assessment or that review at the end of the year as you approach retirement, right?
Absolutely. Well, I think you should do it every year. Yes,
Anyway.
regardless. But my point with what I heard you say is, I am not a believer that at every age you should have a certain amount of risk. I think each person is individual. A lot of my clients that take on more risk, they're in their 80s. They've done well, they've saved well, they may have a pension, so they don't rely on their all of their investment assets to help them fill in those gaps. They're still taking 80, 90% of their portfolio in stocks because they know over the long time it's still going to produce what they want it to produce. So I don't think as we get older we should take less risk. I don't think that's necessarily true, but some people think that. I don't believe it because I have clients that prove me wrong all the time.
I have less than a minute left, and
Sure.
I want to show people how to get in touch with you. But back to those charitable givings for the end of the year,
Yeah.
everyone's watching the disaster in North Carolina and Georgia, and now we've got Milton coming to Florida. If people want to give to those efforts, that's a great example
It's
of
a
how
great
it could go a
example.
long way.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Julie.
You can share some of that time if you want to give them a call. It's 899-8555. There's that website that I think is so great, growkeepleave.com.